Jeepers creepers, South Africa. Somehow they do it again. Another 1 point victory. They find a way. They find a way in a game that they were not leading at all, and they were playing relatively poorly in. Not relatively poorly in, probably one of their worst performances for a long time in terms of the first 60 minutes. Their scrum wasn't working. They were getting dominated in the collision. England were playing like they were on fire. That was the best English performance I've ever seen. But when the smaller bomb squad come on, Ox comes on, Cock comes on, that scrum turns around and it's they get that scrum dominance, penalties at will, and they managed to eke out another 1 point victory. Then, that's the sign of a good team. When a good team can win when they're not putting in their best performances, when they can find a way to win under immense pressure. There were so many times in that I thought, this is England's. This is just the momentum, the body language, everything out there. But the South Africans just do not give up. They just stay in the fight. I thought the momentum was against them for most parts of last week against France, and this week, man, I feel for that English team, a team that was written off before the tournament, bagged in a lot of quarters as the worst England team for a long, long time. We're given no shot at this World Cup. They did themselves really, really proud. I thought Stewart and May handled the high balls incredibly well. Farrell played well. That drop kick that he got, I thought that was going to be a relatively crucial moment. Yeah, Toje was massive in the collisions. Marler was great in the scrum before he got replaced. I think the replacements, props, I can't remember what Sinclair or whatever, they weren't so great. They gave away a lot of penalties, which was really the winning of the game in the end. That penalty at the end, I thought Snyman was massive when he came on. He's got handles as well. One of the few South African forwards that has a little bit of nuance to their ball playing as well. Well, the other guys might, but they just keep it in the drawer if that's the case. I thought the South Africans weren't offering a lot on attack, but they just were gritty and they stayed in it. That bench, it was all won from the bench from me, which has been, a hallmark of South African play for a long time. But another absolute classic game. Well, in New Zealand, a lot of people would when I was watching New Zealand coverage, the pundits were complaining what a boring game, but sure, there was a lot of kicks and there wasn't a lot of like free-flowing, wonderful sparkling tries and things like that. But with these sort of stakes, that sort of tension, that's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Often you watch football games and they're high stakes and there's not a lot of massive action happening, but they're incredibly tense, which brings a lot of joy and a lot of enjoyment. But yeah, hats off to South Africa, man. You can't deny their grit and determination, their way to find things to win, and they are going to be a massive opponent for the All Blacks next week. The 1995 World Cup replay, maybe the most famous World Cup replay, World Cup final of all time, is going to get replayed. The old foes will be up against each other. My team, this is a Black Caps jersey. My team, the All Blacks, up against South Africa. It should be a classic. It should be, an absolute cracker of a game. Two very, very contrasting styles. Two teams that have won one each this year when they've played each other. Both relatively dominant. The Box completely smashed us. So I think a lot has happened since we played them in Twickenham. But that is going to be a giant, giant game. And I, for one, am pooping myself already just thinking about it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive this week without internally combusting at some stage. And I'm sure that a lot of the South African fans feel that way. And the South African fans have been through a lot, man. I think the All Blacks had a really tough quarterfinal against Ireland, but you guys had such a tough quarterfinal against France, and then going into this, there must have been times where you were just like, we can't do this. With the ball's not going our way, the calls are not going our way, our line out was poos. You really must have been struggling. So an absolute roller coaster of emotion that you guys are on, and now we're all in the same cart, going in headlong into the World Cup final. Whew, what a time to be alive. All right, well, We'll make sure you go listen to the podcast 2 Cents Gets Distracted next week. Me and Mark from 2 Cents Rugby will be recording that in the next couple of days. And we'll be talking about, of all things, rugby. How about that? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Ka kite anō, haere rā. Mwah!